Ladies and gentlemen, June 1, 2025, a pleasant good afternoon. It's very late. It should be good evening already here in Oklahoma City. Greater Oklahoma City, this is Gavin Batista saying, welcome to the Prosperity Channel. So ladies and gentlemen, let me get right into the point, and it's very sad that this sequel has been delayed not because of me, but because of certain Filipino unprofessionals led by Wendel R. Managat, Hermes Sardegna, and Anselmo Cruz, and the list goes on. By the way, this will be all submitted this Monday. Today is Sunday, tomorrow is Sunday, to no less than KRISTI, NOEM of the Department of Homeland Security. Very sad, but those are the facts. So we want them to be deported immediately back to the Philippines, and we would like to make 100% sure, 100% sure that they will confess to the many anti-American statements and criminal offenses they did for a U.S. registered company such as the Midwestern Business Advisors LLC with 9 divisions in the United States. The bottom line, they are traitors. They are scalawags. They are pigs that have to be deported immediately back to the Philippines. But I don't want to waste that time anymore, because I know the Filipino Americans know about it already. The white Americans have already said, oh my God, Gavin, you said that a million times. So I'd like to move forward on that. But to KRISTI NOEM, Secretary of Homeland Security, they have to be deported immediately. So, let me get right into the point, ladies and gentlemen. It is about 4:59 p.m. and it is Central Standard Time in the United States of America. Central Time in the United States of America, it's about 5 o'clock or 4:59 p.m. And this is the bottom line for today, June 1, the third sequel of this particular video. I have been a registered cadet captain of the Philippine Citizens Military Air Force in the 1970s and 1980s. And thank God there was no war. But today we are saddled with the unfortunate situation where there might be a war. And so I tell this to the entire citizenry in Southeast Asia, namely in the Philippines, to start preparing for war. because it is better to prepare for war and not to prepare for war. And with the coordination, let me underline that word, it's not assistance, it is not whatever that term, it's simply in coordination with the United States military. We must combine in Southeast Asia, namely starting in the Philippines, to combine forces in the military, Air Force, and Navy to support any deterrence. I'm not just naming China, against your country of origin. And therefore, if I may say, now is the best time to do it, because in the future there will be no future. Because if you were to be attacked by an aggressor in the next 6 months, it's over. Whatever you have done in terms of economic, social, religious, and other forms of civilized society, it's all gone. Wala na. It's over. The Philippines, ayan, sila Henry C., pamilya ni Tessie Coson, wala na yan. Ubus na yung SM mo. Kay Lance Gokongwei, through the great John Gokongwei, ubus na yan. And the Price Club in the Philippines, wala na rin yan. Sa Makati, Kilanang, at iba pang pamilya, including Landmark, ubos na yan. All because of lack of preparation, of war. War is inevitable because we don't know. I don't know. You don't know what's going to happen next. And ang hirap, ay sabi nga sa mga Pilipino, magsisihan, no? Eh, hindi mo naman sinabi yan eh. I'm telling you right now, prepare for war. Because the best deterrent, the best way to avoid any type of war, and you better listen to this, is to have a strong military deterrent. So pag umatake ang China, and you have about 180,000 ships and aircraft, vessels, carriers, what have you, the war will be stopped. And that's why the great Secretary Hexel of the United States of America is very true in saying the best way to deter war is to have a strong, strong deterrent. And that's why I'd like to salute the great President Donald Trump for providing a budget of $1 trillion. Because, Mr. President Donald Trump, it's really not a question of 1 trillion, so to speak. It's a question of what is the budget to deter war. Because World War II, everybody from Germany to Japan to all over the world is saying, we don't need that war. Di ko kailangan niyang gerang yan. Kalokohan yan. So, a war of stupidity A war of nonsense. A war that should have been stopped in the first place. All because of budget and comprehensive plans initiated by Midwestern Business Advisors, LLC. And my callback number is 405-503-8511. Whether you're in Australia, New Zealand, in Congo, for crying out loud, you can call me up to deter, to stop that war. Because we can have the greatest economy in the United States. We can have the greatest economy in Asia, in China, in Japan, in the Philippines, for crying out loud. But if we cannot stop the war, the economies can be disseminated overnight. And that's why I would like to salute the great Russian President Vladimir Putin for reaching out to Japan. Aki Abe, who was murdered by a Japanese stupid guy. And he died. It's so sad. Up to now, we grieve, by the way, to Aki Abe, my profound gratitude in the death of Mr. Abe. One of the greatest prime ministers of Japan, because again, they did not live up to the north, south, east, west method of assuring that he will not be shot in any manner. Again, that is a military parlance. Again, I'd like to say our profound gratitude to the death of Prime Minister Abe, because he should not have been shot if the budget was there on the north, south, east, west of protecting him not to get shot. But he got shot. So take note of that, Secretary Hicks, and I know you already know that, Secretary. North, south, east, west, right budget, President Trump will not get shot. Okay. President Trump will not get shot. So it's very sad that, for a lack of better term, Prime Minister Abe was like a guinea pig. Very sad. I'm sad. In fact, I'm depressed with the Japanese being so sharp in anti-murders, killings, what have you. It still happened. And that's why I would like to send our profound condolences to the wife of Prime Minister Abe. I don't know why it happened, to tell you quite frankly. And believe me, it is all because of the budget. Budget. So if they were to apply the north, southeast-west approach of protecting Prime Minister Abe, this would have never happened. Never! But I don't want to cry over spilled milk. It happened. It happened. So, to the great Secretary Hexer, this is what I can tell you, Secretary. And as you know, President Trump is that smart to fulfill a $1 trillion budget for the military. Because if there was another incursion, a lot, Ukraine versus Russia, Gaza versus Israel, I'm telling you right now, I can be at the forefront of the negotiating panel to stop it immediately. To stop it immediately on the following day. Because we do not want another amateur by the name of Juan of Joe Biden. I hope I'm making myself very, very clear. Because President Biden was voted by the American populace because of his foreign ministry abilities to quell wars and to create more economic prosperity through better economic policies, vice versa with other countries. And it never happened because of the person by the name of Juan. And if I may use the Filipino vernacular, nagrurunong-runungan, pretending to be somebody which he never is in the first place. And quite frankly, it came from the great President Donald Trump. I don't need this job. He said it. I don't need this job. You know, I would have been in Mar-a-Lago playing golf. I would have been, I don't know, with my grandchildren, passing on his wealth. But what did the media do? They destroyed him. Yung kabilang partido pala, hindi naman kalangkayang trabaho. Putting it on the American vernacular, they can't do the job of, solving this peace. For me, I would be now probably in other parts of the world developing my American products. But it is so bad out there, led by the Democrats, who continue to destroy this great nation because of wrong policies. Yet I'm telling you right now to President Barack Obama, why are the black people so poor? Because your policies are so poor. And I don't want to get into that because First Lady Michelle Obama might get back to me because I have so much respect for First Lady Michelle Obama. If you want to have success, America, you better hire the best president in town, and that happens to be President Donald Trump with no reservations. And here comes Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris, all with this nonsense. Paninira means to say all they do is they destroy the good name of President Donald Trump. And so, can the war end? Tomorrow morning we can end the war. In Israel and Gaza, Russia, Ukraine, tomorrow morning. If we have the right plan. And what is the right plan? It is here in the Prosperity Channel. Forget about Zelensky. He's a fucking shit, you know. You can quote me on that, Democrats. Zelensky is a fucking shit. The way to end this war is through Vladimir Putin. And as I said, that's a long story because it's never ending. And when you talk about Gaza versus Israel, the way to end the war in Gaza, and I said this a long time ago, in Israel, is through the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Without them, well, this war will go on. But in fairness to Israel, to our Muslim friends in Harvard, in the East Coast, it all started when the Palestinians bombed Israel. And then they come up with all this nonsense. Harvard is pro-Palestine and all that nonsense. The war can end tomorrow morning if the Palestinians can agree to the fact that they started the war by attacking, killing, murdering thousands of Israelites a couple of years ago. It starts from there. And I told this, even during the time of Ben Bernanke, when I was in the state of California. Management by acceptance. It all started with the Palestinians killing, murdering Israelites when they were just trying to drink some coffee and some food in a given mall. It's all started with there. So when they got killed, the Israelites, the Palestinians had to suffer the consequences, obviously. Can you imagine me going to a mall? By the way, it happened already. In Penn Square Mall, I'm just sitting there drinking some tea, and all of a sudden I get shot. And that's why this never-ending conundrum goes back and forth. And so, to Secretary KRISTI NOEM, if you have animals like Wendel, Managat, and the list goes on. So I'm being very fair. And pardon the expression of me going in strong with it when the highest degree of voice volume is because it's never ending, Secretary. If you let immigrants, so-called immigrants, from the Philippines, like Wendel, Managat, and the list goes on, goes to the United States, it really becomes a complete catastrophe, a complete disaster, a complete chaos, resulting to never-ending killings. And I'm giving just an example, because it can go to Africa, it can go to Europe, it can go to the Middle East, it can go to other parts of Asia. Let me end at that, because I don't want to add more problems to your list of issues, Secretary of NOEM. But this is what I can tell you. If I am caught lying in any manner whatsoever, I am going to file my letter of resignation as a United States of American citizen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and may God truly bless the great United States of America.